Sup, it's Mystery, and I'm going to be cranking this video out. I'm going to be very upfront about this. This is a video where I thought of the title first and everything else just kind of fell into place. I wanted to try and make something talking about gaming as a whole I could shove into one video instead of like all of these different little topics that just pry at my brain. So yes, your game is only as good as its community is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. And before I get into it, I want to make it abundantly clear. This is not an analysis. This is an anecdote. This is my personal experience in the gaming community. I'm not going to be doing a great big research essay in any sort of academia. This is just me talking about years of sticking with games that don't always work out. And half of it is because of the players and the people that you interact with these games. To kind of put this into like some sort of structure, because I am just going to be rambling for a lot of this, so be ready for that. I'm going to break it down into 3 stages throughout my gaming life. They don't really have any sort of cause and effect to them. They're just kind of events that happen chronologically that led me to the conclusion that I will reveal at the end of the video for how I overcame this issue with gaming and its community. I'll be talking about 3 games: Multiverses, Impulse, and Call of Duty. Let's start with Multiverses. You may not even know what this game is because, well, it's been dead and buried for over a year now. It is basically Smash Bros. With Warner Brothers characters. Imagine Batman beating up Bugs Bunny. Imagine if the Ultra Instinct Shaggy meme that was popular 10 years ago was made into a game, and you could in fact play as Ultra Instinct Shaggy. That was the whole appeal of Multiverses. And through microtransactions, free-to-play shenanigans, and some very odd communication with its developers, it eventually died. It actually started as a beta launch and went offline for an entire year before re-releasing as a free-to-play launch. And it kind of felt like an entirely different game. When it switched from one to the other, the beta was widely loved, and the only reason it really died is because they shut the game down. You couldn't even play it anymore. People were left with no choice other than to just wait. And that killed a lot of hype around the game. So when it finally did launch, and it wasn't what people were expecting because they changed pretty much everything about it, and of course there was a lot of microtransactions in it, which always get people mad. Yeah, it did not bode well. But me, I loved it. I loved Multiverses in both stages of its short life cycle. And that was the first time I really took to Reddit, which, you guys are probably already citing my errors of how this all went wrong. Yeah, I made a Reddit to talk to Multiverses players. That's where a lot of the discussion was. And I saw a lot of people hating on a game I really enjoyed. And I was curious why they didn't like it. And I also wanted to try to sway some opinions when I could because I just love the game that much. And now I'm wise enough to know that this is pointless. But bear with me. I was young and dumb and naive. I really thought Multiverses was going to make it. Even when, as soon as it launched, it was pretty much, people had a death sentence for this game. They hated it. And arguing with people on Reddit was not good. Fast forward to Season 5. Yes, the game had seasons, and it did make it to 5. The game was announced for shutdown. And leading up to that, they made some critical changes that were solely influenced by select players, the most vocal players. They did exactly what they asked for and added shields, which were basically a 1-to-1 copy and paste from Super Smash Bros. The game never had shields. It had a dodge system and parrying. So that was like the only thing that made the game different. And as soon as they added shields, it just made the game super slow and boring, and the fast-paced platforming fun of Multiverses was now gone. And at that moment, I just decided to stop arguing with people and let it be. I really did not like the shield change. It killed all my enjoyment for the game, and I felt like the developers made a very clear decision to promote a certain kind of players over the rest of the player base just to save face before they shut down the game and pulled the plug anyway. And I actually didn't get to play that game on its dying days, and I kind of regret it. I miss Multiverses a lot, but not really for what it was, and definitely not for its community, but rather what it could have been. I wanted that game to succeed, and I literally tried to convince people one by one to stick by it so it wouldn't die. And that leads me to, the modern day. This happened years ago, but I'm still making these same mistakes. Moving on to Impulse, it kind of had the opposite problem, where Multiverses would actually have a lot of community support from its devs, even having a community manager that was like a spokesperson that could be the middleman in between the devs and the players. They would stream the game all the time, host events for players to 1v1 in the Coliseum. It was actually really hype, and the love for the game shown by this creator really did help the community stay solid. Unfortunately, not everything can last forever, and they can only have one guy hold on for so long, especially when, all the other issues were piling up. In the end, Multiverses, it died for a variety of reasons, but its community was always very entitled and would just argue about whether to make the game like Smash or whether to make it its own thing back and forth. And then when the game died, everyone realized that it didn't really matter in the end. The devs did try. There was some controversy there as well, but I don't really think it was their fault. They made a game that was fun to me, and I just really didn't like the people I'd interact with. Fast forward to Impulse, yeah, 1047, they're the devs for this one, and they're trying. They want to have a community feedback. But the problem is there's no middleman. There's no spokesperson for this game. There is no buffer between the players and the devs. You just throw them all of the feedback all at once and hope it gets in the game. And already with the whole ADS or no ADS thing, I just see Multiverses happening all over again, where people argue about stuff that doesn't really matter. And it really just comes down to the vibes of a game, like, do I want to be around these people? Do these people make me feel better when I'm away from my life's problems and just trying to enjoy a game with these people? And in both cases, I don't really see that being the case, because when you have no community support like this, where all of their socials are just kind of like, pure dev, and not a lot of players really going out of their way to be that middleman. I mean, you can't really blame anyone. No one's really handing out the position for it. And no one's going to really do it for free, right? There's got to be something to gain for it. Hence why I even stopped trying to make so much stuff for the game, just because, well, I'm not really gaining much out of it. In fact, I feel worse for trying to support this game. So I dialed it back. I'm not really playing it much now, and I'm not really making much of it now. And recently, the community has just gotten less and less hopeful for me. I mean, why stick around when it seems like no one else really wants to? I've talked with endless amounts of Impulse players, and they all don't really think the game is going to make it. And most people like the game a lot, but most people have those issues I was talking about. People just really like to pick a side and argue about stuff. And when it gets to the point where all there is left to do is argue instead of actually like hop on the game and interact with each other, then what's the point of even having a community? And here we are, the final game of the video, and that's the Call of Duty Black Ops ports. I have actually not had this much fun on a multiplayer game in a long time. And yeah, the game itself isn't really all that great. It's definitely not as good as I remembered it, and that could be due to the input lag or just, it being a 10-year-old game with a lot of differences from modern releases. It's not going to feel the same as a 2026 movement shooter. It's from 2010. But despite all of this, the message I learned playing these ports was your game is only as good as its community. Because it's not really so much the games. I mean, obviously the games have a lot of soul to them. They have a lot of effort put in. There's so many little secrets and Easter eggs. And if you go over to zombies, like, oh my God, that shit is packed in full to the brim with content, especially with the DLC. And yeah, I'm editing the campaign video right now, and I'm just realizing how dense it is, how many gunfights you go through in each mission. Editing it has actually been very, very difficult for what I keep in and what I don't. It could easily just be left as a 5-hour video, and you would be getting the experience. Cutting it down to an hour, you definitely would not be. It would sacrifice a lot, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. The game is pretty good. It feels rough. It's not the best, but its community has pulled through. Genuine passion has pulled through. Passion gets thrown around a lot with any multiplayer game. People feel like you have to support it personally. And even I was a champion of the people, trying to rally as many people to fight for my game as I could. But I learned that you can't really force these kind of things. It's probably better to just join the ones that actually are working. Look at Helldivers 2. That is exactly what you want out of a community. They are unified. The game itself promotes the goals of its players, and players don't see each other as enemies. They see each other as allies, teammates, and divers. They're stories, they're legends. They're actually a part of a community. The other games I've talked about, it's always something that splits them apart. And Call of Duty ports, they're having a little bit of issues. There are going to be some people that naysay and buy the games, rage off because it's not what they thought it was. It's not going to be without its problems, obviously. But the point still stands. The game itself, sure, our newer games now have a lot more meat on the bones, but I'd much rather play Call of Duty with people that actually just want to sit down and have fun playing a game than put myself through the constant negativity of interacting with a community that just doesn't care about fun, that just doesn't care about the health of their fellow player. It's always something else. It's always something that is splitting people up instead of bringing them together. And getting everybody back on Black Ops was bringing them together. So many people I haven't played games with in a while coming back for these ports. I haven't talked to one friend in years, and even he is back for these ports. First time I got to talk to him in years, and it's because of this, because of Call of Duty. Something I used to think was just so trivial as a kid, just these brain rot games before brain rot even existed. And now I'm actually so grateful that they brought them back, and I could appreciate what we have lost. It is so different to play games together as friends instead of as opponents, instead of it being a competition. Because let's be real, any one of these COD lobbies, we may rage, we may yell, we may get heated and passionate, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. We're just happy to play a game and play it with people we want to play with. And that is what I learned in these 3 different gaming stories. Let me know if you guys like this kind of video. I'm going to go ahead and cut it short. I wish I was a little bit more concise in what kind of point I was trying to make. I feel like I might have lost the plot at some point there, but yeah, hopefully it rains through when I edit through this again. I'm going to try to do more commentary. I have a lot of stuff on my notepad here I need to get to, like follow up on that video about my job. There's a video about AI I'd really like to make. And yeah, so far on the FPS channel, the highest rated video is in fact a commentary video. So I'll keep doing these, and yeah, if you want to keep that message going for me to make more, then by all means, support the video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.